Brill. Okay, I think we should get going before we freeze. There's people out here and they're really brave. So, here's what we're gonna do. Can you hear me from over there? Oh, that's good. You can carry on chatting if you want. You know what I mean? All the tech's done, so we can kind of like get going. Let's get going by kind of connecting to wherever we are, whether we're out here, out in the kind of like the wind and the clouds, and that's kind of nice. Or whether you're at home and you're like, you got the heating set up to 22 and you're laughing at me. Put one hand on the chest with maybe the thumb and the index finger on where the collarbones join the breastbone, the other hand on the belly. Start to tune into your breath and see whether you can lengthen the inhale and lengthen the exhale even more. If you're out in the elements, then connect to those things that you can hear and feel, or maybe smell. And also anything that feels like it draws your attention for looking at. If you're at home, you're probably in a familiar environment. But you can still tune into stuff because there'll be stuff that maybe you haven't noticed, or a sound somewhere, or just something maybe you can hear your pet in another room or something. It's kind of fun to play with the senses because this focus on the breath heightens that awareness of the senses. And giving you permission for a little bit here to let your senses go wild. It's not often in yoga you let people go wild. Well, here we get to today. And then what we're going to do is we breathe in, we're going to focus on widening our senses. Taking in as much as we can from the external. And as we breathe out, we're bringing that sense of awareness in towards ourselves. Breathe in, feel for expanding that awareness. Breathe out, feel for bringing that awareness in. Out, feel for again expanding it, but maybe it's not going so far this time as you're going out. And as you breathe in, you're bringing that awareness in. And you get to choose where it is that you want to bring that awareness into. Maybe it's, some people pull it into the heart area. Other people, they pull it directly into their heads. Other people like talk about like gut instinct and they pull it into like almost like the solar plexus area, the belly area. You get to choose. And now what I want you to do over the next few breaths is as you're breathing in, to make that circle that you're taking your awareness outside smaller and smaller and smaller. And as you're bringing out, you're bringing that awareness into yourself more and more and more. And let's now start with a little bit of movement. We're going to start with some neck release, followed some shoulder shrugs actually, and then followed with some kind of neck movements. So take a big breath in, feel for sending that breath into the upper chest, feel for widening across the back. Then bring the shoulders all the way up to your ears, really pull them up, squeeze, 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 and then pull them back, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Feel the middles of your shoulder blades really squeezing together, then exhale, drag your shoulder blades down the back. Another huge breath in. Squeeze the middles of your shoulder blades together. Really feel for squeezing those shoulder blades together. Exhale, drag your shoulder blades down the back. Another huge breath in. Squeeze the bottom tips of shoulder blades together, bring the elbows in, squeeze them in. Exhale, drag your shoulder blades down the back. Let's do one more round. We warm the shoulder blades up, they'll move a little bit more. Big breath in. Shoulders go up, really squeeze them up to your ears. Shoulders go back, really push them back. Exhale, slowly and very surely drag the shoulder blades down your rib cage and then bring your shoulder blades to a neutral position. Big breath in. Squeeze the middles of shoulder blades together again. Really imagine that you're pulling them together. Pull, pull, pull. Exhale, slide the shoulder blades down the back. Another huge breath in. Bottom tips of shoulder blades together. Squeeze them together. Exhale, drag them down the back. Move on to getting some side bends, some neck release stuff going. Find your left hand, put it onto your right knee. If you're sitting cross-legged, you could also do this in Baddha Konasana. Inhale in, right hand comes up. Exhale, lean over to the left. And then you're also twisting to the right a little bit because this hand on the knee stops you from kind of leaning all the way without there being a little bit of a twist. You can also look up at your hand in the sky if it feels too bright. You can look down at your knee, whatever feels good here. Let the neck be neutral and sort of floating, whichever one you're choosing. Notice as you're breathing in that the body, this spiral of the body in wants to tighten up a little bit, and then as you breathe out, there's a little bit of space being created. And maybe think about moving into that space a little bit more so you're getting a little bit more of a twist. Second arm position is the chest opener. So the hand comes down to about 45 degrees. Big breath in. Feel for reaching that hand away from you as far as you can, almost like you're reaching for something. Exhale, bring the arm back. Feel for there being an opening in the muscles in the chest area, not pain in the shoulder joint. I don't really want pain in the shoulder joint. Third arm position, neck release. Slowly bring the arm down, 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 down. If you feel like you've got a persistently sort of like hiked up shoulder, you can let the hand touch something. Feel the shoulder melt a little bit, let the shoulder soften a little bit, and then bring it back up just a shade. To come out of this, keep the neck relaxed. Use the hand on the knee to lift your torso up. Take the hand off the knee, put it on the side of the head, and then use that to lift your head up to the middle. All that on the other side. This is kind of like, so you find your right hand this time onto the left knee. Left hand goes up. Exhale, reach over to the right, lean over to the right, and twist to the left ever so slightly. Again, you can look up at your hand. It's a bit bright to look up at the sky. Or you can look down at your knee. Second arm position, chest opener, hand goes down about 45 degrees. Big breath in, reach through the fingers. Exhale, sweep the arm back. Again, feeling for that opening across the chest, not an opening, not a pain in the shoulder joint. Third arm position, neck release, bring it down, 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 down. Again, if you feel like you've got a persistently sort of hiked up shoulder, let the hand touch something, then bring it up a couple of inches. Come out of this one, keep the neck relaxed, use the hand on the knee to bring the torso up, then bring the hand underneath the head, lift the head up. seated cat-cow. You can be cross-legged for this, or Baddha Konasana. Great in boots, does Baddha Konasana. Hand on the knee here, one hand on both knees. Inhale, pull your chest forwards. Exhale, push your chest away. Now what we're looking for here is to get as much movement in the spine as possible. Not restrict that movement to one area. So it's not just like a head movement. It's not just a low back movement. You're trying to get as much curve in the spine as feels good. So in this pushed away position, you're making like a C shape. And in the other direction, you're still making a C shape, but just the other way. One way to take out the head movement being the thing that dominates things, because our eyes are on our head, we tend to kind of like think if we're moving the head a lot, that we're moving the whole body a lot, is to keep the head level. So if you look at something in the medium distance and keep the head level as you move back and forth, then you're transferring more movement through the rest of the spine. Let's add a little twist component onto this. Bring both hands onto your right knee. Turn the chest towards the right knee as much as feels comfortable here. So it might not turn all the way. Inhale, pull your chest towards that knee. Exhale, push away. So it's exactly the same, but rather than going through the center line, we're going to one side. Come back to the middle. Swap over to the other side, both hands on the opposite knee. Inhale, pull yourself towards the chest. Exhale, push yourself away from the knee. Come back to the middle. Come back to the breath. Long inhales, even longer exhales. Let's stand up, and we're going to probably do some sun salutations. That'll bring the sun out, or at least it'll warm us up. One or the other. I don't think it's going to bring the sun out. Stand in a way that if you're out here, you're not going to get like too much wind in your face. That's probably a good thing. If you've got a sun salutation thing that you love to do yourself, then you can do your own one. I'm going to guide you through a simple one, which I kind of like. We'll do a few rounds. Stand in front of the mat. Feel for grounding into the ground. So like planting your feet in the ground, pushing the crown of the head up and away from the ground. Let the arms feel relaxed by your side. Inhale, hands in front of heart. Exhale, the shoulder blades come down. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, come into a forward bend. Bend the knees here. Lunge, inhale. Left leg goes back. Left knee goes down. Stay here for a breath. Plank. Any variation of plank, hands down on the floor. You can even be on all fours in a tabletop position. Plank on your knees, or plank with the knees up. I suggest lowering down to the knees if you're in full plank, and then slowly lower your chest down to the mat. Inhale into a cobra. Pulling the chest forwards as you come up and forwards as you go down. Downward facing dog. Let's stay in downward facing dog for a breath as well. Lunge again, left leg comes forward. Right knee goes down. Arm. Down. Left foot comes to meet right foot. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, hands apart. Let's do another one. Inhale, sweep. Exhale, forward bend. Right knee goes back this time. Knee goes down. Plank works for you, hands go down. bring the knees down if they're already up. Lower down slowly on an exhale. Inhale into a cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Lunge, right knee comes forward, left knee goes down. Left foot comes to me, right foot. Inhale, sweep. Hand in front of heart. Come back to the breath, come back to long inhales, longer exhales. Let's do another one. Inhale, sweep the arms up. We can make this one a slow one where we're actually focusing on not just the destination, but the end to that destination. Exhale slowly into a forward bend. Lunge, left leg goes back. Hard one to do slow, that one. Slowly moving into plank. Lower down slowly on an inhale. On an exhale even. Inhale into a cobra. Squeeze those butt muscles. Exhale, downward facing dog. Lunge. Inhale. Left leg goes forward. Doing a slow. Down. Left foot comes to be. Right foot comes to meet left foot. Inhale, sweep the arm. Front of heart. I think we're nicely warmed up. Let's come into a warrior two, feet about 3 feet apart. If you're outside and you feel like your feet are on something like bumpy, give it a stamp or whatever just to kind of make the ground a little bit flatter. Left toes turn out, right toes turn in, left knee bends, hips and chest turn towards the front of the mat. And then without lifting the shoulders up, let the arms come up. Take a long breath in, feel for reaching through your fingers. Long breath out, relaxing the shoulders. Reverse warrior, right hand comes down, left hand comes up and over. Feeling for breathing in an easeful way here. Feel for reaching through the heel of that right leg, pressing down through that left foot, maybe lifting and spreading the toes. Big breath in. Exhale, engage the core, come back into a warrior two. Extended warrior variation. Left forearm comes onto the left thigh. Right hand poops behind your back, catches hold of your waistband or the thigh. Long breath in, press through that right heel again to lengthen the spine. Exhale, roll that top shoulder back. Bringing the attention and awareness back to that breath. Back to that sense of you at your core, as to wherever that point that you brought back that sense of your own awareness too. Inhale, engage, big breath in. Exhale, engage the core back into that warrior two position. Arch your arms, the left arm up. Really reach for it up, bend the elbow. Two options here. You can bring the right hand on top of the knee, bring that elbow into the center line, or bring that arm behind, catch hold of the hands, or let them wave at one another. That kind of works too. Take a breath in and feel for reaching up with that top elbow. On the exhale, let the left shoulder blade, let the right shoulder blade even go down. Can you put your arms in the position where it doesn't feel like you're in a battle with yourself here? That's a real trick. Big breath in, exhale, engage the core, unwrap your arms, eagle arms. Bring your elbows up in front, elbows bent. Cross the right over. Forward bend. You get to choose which one. Take a big breath, send it into the belly. Exhale, start to engage the core, unwrap your arms, walk your hands up, come back up to upright position. Turn your feet so they're facing forwards. Bring the hands onto the hips and do little circles with the hips. They're going to be little circles because the legs are a little bit wider than we normally do circles with, but it's still a great way to get some movement into the hips, into the ankles, into the knees, and all the way up the spine. Remember, you're going to go one way and go the other way. Come back to the center. Warrior two on the other side. So this time, right toes turn out, left toes turn in. Bend that right knee, arms come up. Feel for a strong warrior two position to start off with. Let the shoulders be low, as low as possible. Drag them down. First pose here, reverse warrior. Left hand down, right arm comes up and over. Maybe lifting and spreading the toes on that right foot. Send a big breath into the belly. Start that exhale, engage the core, back into that warrior two. Inhale and broaden across the chest. On the exhale, relax the jaw, relax the face. Extended warrior variation. Right forearm onto the right thigh. Press to that left heel. And then the left arm goes behind, catches hold of your waistband. Exhale, roll that top shoulder back. Big breath into the belly. Start that exhale, engage the core, back into warrior two. Arch your arms here, so this time right arm comes up, bend the elbow, left hand onto the elbow, or left hand goes behind, catching hold of the hand or waving at the hand, whichever one feels like it works for you. Take a huge breath in this time and shoot that top elbow up towards the sky, taking the shoulder blade with it. And then on the exhale, let the other shoulder blade slide down the back. Breath in, exhale, unfurl out of that one. Eagle arms, elbows come up in front, cross the the middle, maintaining the clasp on the hands. Breath in, unfurl the arms, push up, turn your feet so they're facing forward, heel toe your weight standing. Easier said than done. Give your shoulders a bit of a shake. Give your mat a little bit of a shake if it's getting tons of schmoo all over it. One of the fun things about being, especially when you're on a towel, it's even harder because the towel will just any second just go, and it's over there somewhere. One thing I always like to do when I'm outside is play with balance. And I can kind of hear people on Zoom, some people going, yeah, I like balance, some people going, boo, don't like balance. But balance is fun outside, because, especially outside, because we're not dealing with flat surfaces and carpeted surfaces, we're dealing with uneven surfaces, which is what we as human beings are sort of best able to deal with. And one pose that I like to play with outside is Warrior 3. We don't do Warrior 3 that often indoors, but Warrior 3 is a kind of a fun pose. Here's how you get into Warrior 3. You stand with your feet together at the long end of the mat, but I'm going to do it facing forward so everybody can see what I'm doing. You need to choose to ground through the foot. So ground through your left foot this time. Feel for pressing that foot into the ground. Right leg goes back, and you sort of go back onto the toes of that right leg to start with. And then the arms come up. You might sort of choose, this is where I want to stay, because this here is like a lot of balance. If you want to take this further, you lean forward, simultaneously lifting up that back leg. So they're keeping the back leg in line with your body. It's okay to bend this front leg if you're tight in the hamstrings. If you're in this position, to come out of it is a really fun one. You take a breath in, exhale, slowly bring that leg down while you're lifting your torso up. It's like a single-legged deadlift. It's like a big move. Give yourself a bit of a shake, because that's not an easy one. And it's not so easy, which we're going to do on the other side. So, ground through the other leg, your right leg this time. Left leg goes back. You start off up on the toes, arms come out to the side. Again, this might be as far as you want to go, because this is an oddly balanced position that we as humans in the modern world don't spend much time in. If you feel confident, let the torso come down and the back leg come up. If you're at home, you've got the advantage of using radiators, walls, chairs, windows, your pet dog as a kind of a way of holding you up. And then to finish off this, if you're feeling really strong, breath in, back leg goes down, simultaneously lifting the front leg, coming back onto two legs. Really good exercise, because that works the hamstrings as you're kind of coming up from that. As you're coming up at that point, it's all in the hamstrings pulling you back up. So that's a really strong move. Give your hips a bit of a shake. It's different doing it outdoors, isn't it? Because the wind, floor, uneven surfaces, dogs. Let's do some more standing poses for this one. Come into a Warrior 1 this time, standing at the front of that. Left leg goes back. Right knee bends. Hands come onto the hips here. Use the hands to lift the rib cage up. So you're making the gap between the bottom of your rib cage and the top of your hips as long as possible. Gently pull the belly in at this point as well. And then the arms up. If you feel like, yeah, I want to take the arms up. Keep pressing through this left leg, especially the left heel. Lift and spread the toes on the right. lowering arms. Bring those in. Tuck them into the rib cage here. Keep them squeezed in. Imagine you've got a paperback book in your elbow. Inhale, hands come together. Exhale, hands move away. Keep them pressed in. Inhale, bring the hands together. Exhale, let the hands move away from one another. Do this a few more times. And then let the arms come down by your side. Let the arms become floppy. Kite hawk arms. I'm going to turn to the front here so everybody can see what I'm doing in kite hawk arms. Arms come out to the side. Then take a big breath in. And as you take that breath in, drop the shoulder blades down the back. Lift your chest up towards the sky. Palms turn up towards the universe. Exhale, draw your shoulder blades up. Palms rotate downwards and away from you. Chest comes down, head comes down. Inhale, draw the shoulder blades down. Palms come up. Opening your chest up towards the sky. Exhale, reversing that move. What's important with this move, it's not just your hands moving, everything from the shoulder blade all the way to your fingertips is moving. So that's the key with this one. Then let your arms come down. Bring the hands to the floor, let the back knee come down. Bring it down slowly. Remember, this is yoga, not wrestling. We don't crash it down. Easy twisting lunge. Left hand goes down on the floor. Right hand either goes up to the sky or on your hip, or you can bring it down onto this knee that you're looking at. Whichever one feels best in your shoulders and gets you into the nicest going twist. If you've got the arm down on the floor and you feel super strong today, feel for pushing that arm into the ground. So it's almost like you're pushing the earth away from yourself. If you've got an arm up in the sky, feel for reaching for something. Imagine that there is something that you're trying to get and it's like a hair's breadth away from you being able to grab hold of it. Maine Coon cat stretch. This one becomes a lot of fun. Bring both hands down onto the floor. Inside of this leg that's in the front. Here's what I want you to notice here. If you feel like you're going out on the outside of this leg that's in the front here, you want to take the leg a little bit wider. So hands down on the floor, feel for lowering your chest down towards the floor as much as possible, as much as feels comfortable. You might feel like, yeah, I can bring my elbows down on the floor. Cool. It's a little bit more challenging doing that outside because there's sand everywhere. If you want to up level this one a little bit more, you can curl the toes on the back foot under, lift that back knee up. That puts a little bit more stress in the upper body, gets you to work a little bit harder. You can then bring the elbows down if that feels good. People at home, you might feel like, oh, put your elbows on blocks or on a bolster as well as sort of a halfway point between being up on your hands and down on your elbows. Outside, you probably don't want to bring a bolster out here. Pigeon now with the right leg forward. Now, if you kind of like don't have a pigeon that works for you, the easiest way to get into pigeon, back into all fours, shoot that right leg forward so the knee is somewhere between the two hands. Left leg goes behind. You can drop that right hip down if that feels good as well. That's fine. Whatever feels good. If you've been doing yoga for a while and you feel like you want to deepen this pose a little bit, a trick is to make your shin at the front. Try and bring that shin so it is parallel with the front of your mat, or as much as possible. Again, avoiding pain, avoiding discomfort, avoiding anything that just doesn't feel good. From here, we're going to go into a choose your own adventure. two different poses that you can choose from. Child's pose, or if you're outside and you feel like child's pose is going to mean that you're going to ingest too much sand, you can come into an easy pose for a moment. Whichever pose you're in, feel for that connection with your breath, connection with yourself. Maybe focusing on that spot where you drew your own personal sensory awareness into. Work on lengthening the inhale and lengthening the exhale. Whichever pose you're in, let's work our way back to a standing. I don't feel like going into down dog because every time I've done this so far, sand blows in my face. That's not very fun. All those poses on the other side. If I forget one, feel free to shout out at me. Right leg goes back, warrior one this time. Get your balance. Again, if there's any tufts underneath your mat, stamp them down. Hands on the hips, lift the chest up. This is a really important move. This idea of bringing space between the bottom of the ribcage and the top of the hips. Bend that front knee and then activate the abs ever so slightly. So you're pulling the lower belly up and pulling the front of the ribcage down a little bit. Once you really cool. Like elbows come in. Inhale, hands come together. Exhale, hands move away. Do that a few more times on that inhale. Focus for keeping those elbows nice and tucked in. Exhale, roll the elbows. Roll the hands out, keeping the elbows tucked in. Kite, hook arms come out to the side. Inhale, shoulders down, palms come up, chest comes up. Roll, arms roll away, head comes down. Rounds of this, getting as much movement through the rib cage as feels awesome. This is kind of like doing a cat-cow, but it's got the shoulders in there and the arms driving that movement as well. Lunge, both hands come down, back knee comes down slow, come up. Lunge, right hand comes down, left hand either right up to the sky, on the hip or on the knee, whichever one again feels like for you. If you've got the hand on the floor and you're feeling really strong, push that arm into the ground, feel like you're pushing the planet away, and reach through the top arm. Maine Coon cat stretch, both hands come down on the floor. Remember, there's a lot of different options for this. The first thing to look for is the foot. Take your foot a little bit wider. So, first version of this, hands on the floor, drop your chest down towards the mat. You're trying to shorten this distance here. If you feel like, yeah, this feels like I can go a little bit further and I want to come back, stretching it, toes under, knee up. You might also be able to bring the elbows down, and again, if you're at home, you can use a bolster or something as like an intermediate between hands down and elbows down outside, that's not really an option. Pick a place where you feel like you can stay there for a few breaths and it doesn't feel awful. Yoga should never feel awful. Sometimes it feels stretchy, sometimes it feels a little bit like, ooh, but it shouldn't feel awful. From here, we went into a pigeon. You might have your own version of a pigeon. This is where you're going to find out if like pigeon's something that it's quite new to you. You might feel like, wow, one hip is like way different to the other. Welcome to the world of hips. Easiest way in, all fours, shoot that left knee forward, right leg goes back. If you want to take your pigeon into a bit of more advanced pigeon, you might take this front leg, make it more parallel with the front of your mat. From here is a choose your own adventure. I'm going to come into easy pose. Brave people outside coming into child's pose. Slowly come up out of whatever pose you're in. Come into a seated position. Coming back to the breath. Maybe giving your shoulders a bit of a shake, maybe giving your legs a little bit of a wiggle, whatever feels good. I'm pretty sure in the Sacred Yoga text somewhere it tells you not to put your mat down in an ant's nest. Probably does. It's for the reasons I don't really want to kind of put my face down on that too much. Anyway, you people over there, you lay out the ants. This is just where this is the domain of the ants. Let's come into a Baddha Konasana, soles of feet together. Like, forgot what pose I was going to say there. And what we're going to do from Baddha Konasana, if Baddha Konasana doesn't work for you at home or in here for whatever reason, first off, the thing may feel like your legs go into like sinking position. They feel really heavy and painful. You can put blocks underneath here. That kind of helps. If the blocks don't work or whatever, you can just come into a cross-legged as well. I don't really mind whichever one it is. Let's come into a forward bend towards the feet in whatever version you're doing. Now, for me, a forward bend is this idea of sending the chest forward, not my head. If I'm sending my nose forward, my spine rolls a lot. If I feel for sending the middle of my chest forward, I can keep my back quite flat. Now, this sort of forward bend is really a bend at the hips, and it might look a bit like this. I'm keeping the back flat, a little bit of a bend, maybe goes a lot further. Maybe for some people it goes a lot further still. But this idea of keeping the back as flat as possible and maybe only letting it round as much as feels comfortable. Because for a lot of people, rounding the back doesn't feel brilliant. And also, if you're rounding the back, you're not getting as much hip action in these forward bends. Coming back to the breath again. Take a breath in. Engage the core as you exhale, come back up. Inhale in again, lengthen the spine. Exhale, come back into that forward bend, whatever version you were doing, seeing maybe you can go a little bit further because there's been a little bit of a reset. Big breath into the belly, engage the core, exhale, slowly come back up. Bring your heels down onto the floor. We're gonna come into Pigeon 90-90. This will be the last one before we start lying down. Pigeon 90-90 is where you rock your knees over to the right, say, to start off with, and your knee and the sole of your foot are together. A lot of things are gonna happen here. First, if this feels uncomfortable, you can widen this stance. It makes it a little bit easier. The other thing is that you wanna try and get your sit bones down on the floor. Easier said than done. Like, I've been doing this for a long time and my sit bones don't want to go down just yet, but that's okay. They will one day. Inhale, lift the arms up. And then exhale, bring the arms out, palms up in front of you. That shifts your weight balance a little bit, helps to keep the chest upright, and we'll stay here for a couple of breaths. Focus on whichever hip here or position here that feels like that's the bit that feels like it's holding you back. Feel for sending breath into that area, seeing if it softens. Don't push into pain because that's not cool. One more breath in, lift the chest up. Exhale, relax the hips. Come out of this, back into the middle, go the other way. This is where you're going to find out again that your hips are not even. We did not come off like a Terminator production line. Again, if you're at home, you can use blocks underneath the hips. You might be able to use like an ant's nest as well. That kind of works really cool for balancing the hips out. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms in front, palms up, lifting the chest up. Take a couple breaths here. Feel for lifting the front of your chest up as much as possible. One hip or the other is probably going to feel a little bit nastier than the other. Focus on sending breath into that area. Let it soften, but don't let that nasty feeling turn into pain. Readjust or move out of it at that point. And bring the arms down. Unhook your feet, rock your knees, rock your whole legs from side to side. Feel for this movement starting and finishing at the hip sockets. And then let's lie down on the floor for the wind down before we kind of get into Shavasana. You might want to orientate yourself if you're outdoors with your head pointing this way, because like this is where the wind's blowing, so you're not going to blow sand in your face. As you're lying down, you're down on the floor. If you're outside, you're already going to notice that the wind is almost like passing over you. It's kind of like a weird feeling. Feel for your body relaxing into the ground a little bit. Your wrists feeling heavy, your elbows feeling heavy, your shoulder blades and shoulders feeling heavy. Back traction. Here's how back traction works. You're going to take your hands and put them on the top of your hips. So the heels of the hands are right at the top of the hips. Fingers pointing towards your knees, and then you're going to press into them so that you're lengthening your spine. Then what I want you to do is I want you to rock your belly button, pull it down towards the floor and lift your belly button up towards the ceiling. You'll notice that you're rocking your hips, rocking your low back here. With that pressure on your legs, with that traction going, feel for getting that movement. It's almost like unlocking some of your spine, especially low down there where sometimes the things can get a little bit sort of congested, things can get a little bit tight. Take a massive breath in, send that breath into the belly again. Use that breath to help you lengthen your spine even more. Keep pressing your hands into your thighs. Exhale, rock your belly button, pulling it down to the floor, lifting it up to the ceiling, down to the floor, up to the ceiling. If you find a spot where you feel like your belly, like your back really feels great in that position, maybe it needs a stretch in that position, maybe you're getting into something that feels like you haven't got into that for a while, feel free to stay in that position for a couple of breaths. For me, it's always that idea of pressing my low back down into the floor and pushing as hard as I can into my thighs. That really gets into a spot for me. For you, it might be a different spot. Feel free to stay there for a couple of breaths and then come back into the rocking bit, because that feels cool then. And then this is your time for Shavasana. Anything goes here. Legs up the wall. Don't have a wall outside here. If you're at home, you can. Lying on your front, lying on your back, lying on your side, looking for four-leaf clovers, whatever it is that works for you. You can also sit up in easy pose if that feels kind of better. Whatever works for you. And we're going to be here for just a couple of minutes because it's outdoors. Shavasana. Start to deepen your breathing. Bringing back your awareness to you and where you are. Expanding your awareness again from that point that you brought it in, taking it out and out and out. As far as you feel like you want to take it. Maybe you want to keep it a little bit closer now, maybe you want to take it as far as possible. It's all up to you. And start to bring some movement into your fingers, your toes, and your legs, and start to wiggle around, and then maybe roll over onto one side. And taking your time, come back up to a seated position and sort of like go, ah. Well, thank you very much, everybody. People who come and brave the elements here, and people who have braved the elements of the room for Zoom, which is sometimes can be quite a challenge. Fantastic to see everybody. Hope you had a good time. See you all again real soon. Take care of yourselves.